So will.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We are convening a session of the Philadelphia Tax Review Board. My name is Melissa Andre. I'm the executive director here. With me today is our board chair, Nancy Cameradiner, as well as board members Paula Weiss, George Matthews, and Dominique Ward. Please be aware that this is a public hearing and is being recorded. Because the meeting is public, participants and viewers have no expectation of privacy. And by continuing to be in this meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. This recording will be uploaded to the Tax Review Board's website on phila.gov. At this time, I'm going to give control of the meeting to our chair, Nancy Cameradiner. I do want to point out to Ms. Cameradiner that the petitioner, this is case number 2, is in the room. And so we can go right into that.
Good afternoon, everyone. As has been indicated, this is a Tax Review Board hearing for April 27th, 2023. Before we actually get to the petitioner in the room, I want to note that we had an item on our agenda, item number 3, that had been on here for an estate, but this was added to the agenda inappropriately by administrative error. And so that's not a matter for today at all. I just wanted to note that so that if you're looking at your agenda, you know that we're not at any point going to turn to that item. And as has already been indicated, we have in the room now someone from item number 2. This is the docket ending in 9207. And the petitioner is listed as TR-Philadelphia, LP. Property address here is 5554 Baltimore Avenue. I see there are 2 people in the waiting room. If they would identify themselves for the record, that would be appreciated. I don't know that your microphone is on.
The microphone is on. Just make sure to, if you guys can get a little bit closer to the microphone, it's the big thing in the middle.
Sure. So,
okay, now I can hear a voice.
okay. Good afternoon, Bill Dion on behalf of TR Philadelphia LLP Properties, and I have the principal.
Are you an attorney or are you?
Yes, I am. I'm a licensed
okay, one
attorney.
moment. He has to identify himself for the record. Please
Yeah,
identify. I'm sorry.
Anthony Michael Rufo.
And are you also an attorney?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth with everything that comes before the board?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Who has this matter for the city?
Good afternoon, Michelle Reinhardt for the City of Philadelphia.
Do you have anyone else with you who will, and I take it you're an attorney? I should verify that.
I am an attorney, and both Eileen Fonseca and Inspector Rybakowski will represent the city as well.
Okay, so if they could identify themselves for the record, please.
Good afternoon, Eileen Fonseca with License and Inspections. I'll be reading in the numbers for this petition.
Okay, and do you swear or affirm to tell the truth with everything that comes before the board?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Rybakowski, are you on the call?
I am. Thomas Rybakowski, City of Philadelphia, License and Inspections, and I do.
You didn't even give me a chance to say that you swear or affirm to do so. Okay, we've got you sworn as well. Does the city have any opening comments here before we get to the petitioner?
Nancy, this is the case where the attorney was going to request a continuance.
Well, I wasn't sure, but I wanted to give the city a chance to say something there. But are you aware of the interest?
I was not aware, but I'm willing to listen to what the petitioner is requesting in order to respond to it.
Okay, then let's turn to the petitioner and find out what the situation is there.
Sure. Again, Bill Dion here on behalf of the petitioner. So we're here today because we have really not gotten much information with regard to the notice of violation. We did just get Ms. Reinhardt's package, which was very helpful. It provided us some information on how we got to here today. A lot of the notices were not received by us. Mr. Rufo is ironically in the business of demolition, so would have very much preferred to have done this work himself if he was aware that it was needed to be done. So I wanted an opportunity to look through the documents that were provided just moments ago, and then obviously be given an opportunity to talk to Mrs. Reinhardt, maybe to see if there's an opportunity to resolve this, or if not, come back at a later date. But it's too short to be able to kind of get through the information we were provided.
just to clarify, when did you receive the documents you're referring to?
I would say about 20 minutes ago.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
half an
I knew
hour
you
ago.
said recently, but I wasn't sure what
Oh, yeah.
the timetable was there. And I wanted to make sure that was part of the record.
They were sent this afternoon, but they were forwarded more than 20 minutes ago, just for the record.
Still
And
not a lot
these-
of time, Ms. Reinhardt.
It's not, but these are the same exhibits that were presented at the master's hearing. The only addition to the exhibits is the OPA information, which only reflects the address of record. All the other copies of the notices of violation, the letters, the photographs, they were all included in the master's hearing.
Well, I guess that's part of the problem. We weren't aware of it. This is the first hearing we're aware of. I know that we filed, Mr. Rufo's office filed the appeal. The notice of the last hearing went to an address that he's no longer at, so we missed that one. So I think this problem has been precipitating itself. So if we're given the opportunity to look through this, hopefully we can understand better how we got to where we are today. But sitting here right now, we don't really understand it.
If I understand you correctly, you are hoping to then have conversations after you review the documents, have conversations directly with the city. And there is a possibility that there would not have to be another hearing if the parties could come to an amiable conclusion. Is that a fair understanding of what you're looking at?
Yeah, look, I would hate to not give it an opportunity. I am not overly optimistic. Unfortunately, probably some of the work was done that Mr. Rufo would not have done the way he did it. Some of the work will have to be undone. But I think to try to go forward today when we have this information, however recently we got it, would not be a service to Mr. Rufo, the city, or the board members.
So this is Paula Weiss, and I would concur with the request for a continuance by the petitioner, and I would just state that after, Mr. Dion, after reviewing the documents, if you think that there is some opportunity for some kind of settlement, that you reach out to the city's attorney prior to coming back to the tax review board for the hearing, which you have a right to, but possibly, after reviewing the documents, there's something that can be worked out.
I will reach out regardless, no matter how small or large I think we can settle it. I will reach out.
Thank you.
And if I could add that if indeed you have conversations with the city and you reach a decision that is an accord between the two parties, that you notify this board that we will not need to schedule a future hearing. Of course, if you don't reach an amicable conclusion, we would want to know that you're ready to have a hearing scheduled.
Understood, but I'd ask if we could continue it to a date certain, and then that way that will act as a little bit of an impetus for us to all hopefully have our conversations and see if we can resolve it. And if not, then we all know what date we'll be back here.
This is when I come into the picture. Again, my name is Melissa. We are, for lack of a better word, we are backed up in L&I, the category. I foresee if we do want a date certain, it would be October. So I can give you a date certain. I'm just telling you it's going to be in October.
Yeah, okay, if you can give us well, will you send out a notice? Unfortunately, so you have I give you my card.
Mr. Dion, I can have all notices sent to your office.
That would be perfect. I gave you my.
That will give you ample amount of time. We send out our notices about 6 weeks ahead, so you'll have ample amount of time to either tell me that you want continuance, that you want to withdraw, whatever the case may be.
Okay, no, if you can, you have my card. If you can send us a notice, and yeah, we're just anxious to try to bring this to closure.
I understand.
Okay, do we have concurrence from the other board members? Paula Weiss has already spoken up, and we have, I believe it's 2 other board members who are online in addition to me.
Dominic Moore concurs with granting the continuance for this matter to a date certain.
George Matthews, I concur.
Okay, and Nancy Cameradiner, I concur. Do we have any additional comments from the city on this before we close it out for today?
I would just like to request Mr. Dion's contact information, if you can contact me, because I have not had any correspondence previously and want to make sure that we are able to follow up appropriately.
I will reach out to you later this evening when I'm back in my office. I have your email address from the information that was forwarded to Mr. Rufo earlier today.
Okay, thank you. I would also just like to note that Mr. Rufo did not have an attorney at the master's hearing, and there was an opportunity at that point in time to review those exhibits as well.
Sorry, Ms. Reinhardt, but Mr. Rufo did not appear at the last hearing. That's why he appealed it to the board.
Okay, and what I'm also saying is that he had the opportunity to have an attorney at that as well.
Keep in mind, however, that all appeals to the tax review board are de novo. Therefore, the documents still need to be available for this hearing.
I understand that. That's why I'm not opposing the continuance request.
Okay. All right, I guess that it covers everything we need to do for today. I look forward to hearing that the parties have gotten together, and I'm hopeful that we'll hear that you were able to reach an amicable decision. Not that we don't want to see you again, but rather.
You won't take it
that
personally.
It's been handled in an amicable way.
Thank you very much for your time. I
Okay,
appreciate
thank you very much for coming in today, and you're free to head out when you gather your things together.
it. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
I think at this time we can go to case number 1, Nancy.
Okay, they're here already?
Ms. Barksdale? She's here. She's just in there she is.
Okay,
The Zoom, Nancy.
okay. The next item on our agenda, item number 1 is for Antoinette Barksdale, last 4 digits of the docket 9301. The property address here is 40 East Pastorius Street. I can't see her on my screen. Ms. Barksdale, are you there?
Ms. Barksdale?
Barksdale,
She's there, but she's on mute. Or is she frozen?
She looks like she's frozen. Yeah, she definitely looks like she's frozen. I'm gonna remove her from the room in an attempt to get her to get back. Oh, there she is. She's gone. So let's just wait for her to get back in, but she had been here the entire time.
I thought you had spoken with her earlier online, but I wasn't sure.
Melissa, just a note, if she has trouble getting frozen, then if she will turn off her video, she should have a better experience with connection.
Thank you, Stacy. I'll definitely let her know that if we still see that she's having problems.
Can you reach her at all?
No, she's in the room. Ms. Barksdale, is that you? I see 2 iPhones. Ms. Barksdale, is that you?
Yeah, my computer, I don't know what's going on. So now I tried to pull you up on my phone because
Well, we can see you.
yeah.
We can hear you.
Can you
very
see
clearly.
me?
Yes.
Because it keeps saying my internet is acting up, but I have you on, I just pulled you up on my phone, Ms. Melissa.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure. I had a feeling that's what happened because it looked like you were frozen. So I see 2 iPhones. I'm gonna remove the other one. Okay, perfect. This is fine with us while you continue to work on the phone, but we're gonna proceed with the hearing if that's okay with you.
That's fine. Yes.
Nancy?
Okay, fine. Thank you. Good afternoon. We've already introduced your case. Please identify yourself for the record.
My name is Antoinette Barksdale.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth with everything that comes before the board?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Who has this matter for the city?
Good afternoon, board members. This is Michael Rullo, R-U-L-L-O, on behalf of the city of Philadelphia.
And do you have anyone with you who will be testifying?
I do indeed. I have Supervisor Rybakowski, and I believe Ms. Fonseca was already sworn in. I believe both of them were already sworn in.
And Mr. Revakowski's also been sworn. Do you have the numbers for the record? Who has those?
I do. This is for the bill date of October 30th of 2018 for bill number 02-006-34887. Principal amount is $57,740. Administrative cost, $12,125.40. Interest, $16,767.36, totaling out to be $86,632.76. And this is for a demolition.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from the city before we turn to the petitioner?
I did just want to raise one thing. My understanding is from my colleague, Ms. Skiles, who handled this matter in, I believe it was March, I think last year, that she received a phone call from Ms. Barksdale yesterday, and there was an indication that Ms. Barksdale had a series of exhibits that she was going to be using. Again, I'm getting this secondhand, so we have not seen those exhibits, and I would just ask for clarification on that.
Okay, then why don't we turn to the petitioner and ask her to indicate whether or not she has any exhibits that haven't been shared with the city.
So I'm gonna turn off my phone now. It looks like my computer is back on.
Oh, great.
So,
That will
yeah, I'm
make it
gonna
easier
turn my
for you.
phone on. So I reached out to her yesterday, Ms. Skiles, the attorney for the city, and she gave me Mr. Rulo's number. I've tried to contact him. I have the contract for the work that was done, the information from the LNI inspector who referred me to a contractor to get the make safe work done. And then I have those documents with me. And I also have, you should see Gerald Brinkley, a witness who should be on the Zoom, and I have Mr. Craig Fulmore, who's at the location with me.
The documents you're referring to, are those documents you received from the city or documents that you provided to the city? I wasn't clear.
There are documents that I spoke with Ms. Sykes that I wanted to give to the city, and she told me to reach out to Mr. Rulo, and so I called him to ask him how can I get.
So they haven't been shared with the city?
No, they haven't been shared yet.
Okay, that makes it a little bit difficult in terms of prep for today's session, but.
If I may, so I have not, if I missed the phone call, that is news to me. I have been in the office this morning. I also make sure that my voicemail does have my email address clearly communicated in it. I have not received any digital copies of that.
I'll tell you the number I called if she gave me the number.
That's fine. I appreciate that. Just give me one more second. I would just raise that this was originally, the original hearing date in this matter was January 16th of 2020, according to the documents that I have. And I believe that this was previously listed also in March of 2022, but I would default to obviously Miss Andre about that. So I think that I understand that, we just dealt with another case where there's some issues in terms of timely submission of exhibits. But I think this is an instance where these exhibits should have been submitted 3 years ago.
Ms. Barksdale.
Hey, are you objecting to her introducing these exhibits today? Is that where we're going with this?
At this time, I am, and I guess the other question is, it looks like these are physical copies, so even if
I can scan them in, I can try and scan them in or take it and email them, or something like that. If that'll help.
Are these new documents that you have, or have you had these for a long period of time?
These are documents that I've had, the contract for the work that was done, that the LNI inspector referred me to the contractor. So I've had these documents since I got
And you
the
never
work done.
attempted to give them to the city before?
I've never attempted to give him, I've always had them with me whenever we would meet to present them to them. I asked them if I could fax them in or how can I get them to them. So no, I haven't attempted to give them to them, but I have my contract for all the work that I had done and the information from Mr. Stallworth Eugene, the L&I inspector, who helped me through this whole process. And that's why I'm baffled that my property was demolished, because I dealt with a City of Philadelphia L&I person who walked me through what I needed to do.
Mr. Rulo, is what's his last name? Eugene what?
Eugene Stallworth, or Stallings was his name, who worked with me.
Mr. Rulo, is he going to be testifying today? At all?
No, Mr. Stallworth will not be, Inspector Stallworth will not be testifying. This is from 2018, so I'm not even sure if, I default to Supervisor Rybakowski. I'm not even sure if that individual is still with the city, candidly.
Inspector Stallworth is still at licenses and inspections. He is part of this unit. If the board did decide to move this to another date, we could arrange for Inspector Stallworth to be part of the hearing.
Well, then my next question is, Ms. Barksdale, why didn't you subpoena to have him testify today as a witness?
Well, why didn't I subpoena? Because I thought the city would have had him. He was the inspector on this case. He was the one who was there the day on May 21st when we had the work done, who recommended me to the contractor. I had my witnesses. I assumed the city would have had him since he was the inspector who did the work, who referred me to the contractor that made the property safe, who explained to me, I didn't know anything about this. He explained to me what I had to do to shore up the property until I could get funding to try to get it done. So I assume that, in all honesty, I assume that the city would have had him present since he was the person who had all the dealings with me as a customer, as a city homeowner, as a city property owner. So I just automatically assumed, maybe to my fault, that they would have had him here because he is the person I dealt with. And I have witnesses who were there when I dealt with him.
Okay, Ms. Barksdale, but the issue at hand from what the city's perspective is that you didn't communicate any of these, you didn't provide any of these documents to them, nor did you communicate this request. So how would they have known to have him here? And this matter has been continued how many times?
One moment.
I mean, at the end of the day, it sounds like you have materials that you want to use that you introduced for evidence today that you've delayed to give to the city. There's a witness that you want, I'm guessing, cross-examine or to provide or support your case that you didn't request to have him here. So, I mean, we can proceed forward. I'm inclined to grant the city's objection because ultimately they did provide their documents to you. So you at least knew that you needed to exchange exhibits prior to this hearing today.
They just provided documents the last time we had this, when we were off, when we were, when we were here at the conference the month or whatever ago. They just provided the documents at that point. So all these years, I've never had documents.
Okay, but
while
even
they're
at minimum,
saying,
when they provided it a month ago, why at that time did you not provide your documents and inform the city?
well, I reached out to
Why
Ms.
not?
Sykes on several occasions,
Okay.
waiting for her to get back with me. And
Mr. Rulo, do
yesterday,
you have Ms. Sykes here today so she can testify to this? Because I mean, that's where this is going to come down to, as you can see where this is going.
I can, if you would give me a moment, but just for the purposes of the record, the position statement and the documents that the city submitted here are dated January 16th of 2020, which I believe was the original listing of this matter. And I think that is before my time in terms of joining the city. But if I recall, I believe at that time, these were in-person hearings. I could be incorrect about that. So the documents here, at least as far as I can tell, were submitted over 3 years ago.
And that's fine, but right now, we're hearing that a month ago, and she's saying that she spoke to someone in your office regarding what the next steps are and how materials can be exchanged. This is going to be basically, this hangs in the winds of whether her materials are going to actually be accepted or not. So if you can try to have her log in to either confirm or deny what her version of the events are, that would help us a lot here.
I completely understand. If you could give me 2 minutes, I believe that Ms. Skiles is down the hallway from me.
Okay, we'll pause to give you that time.
and is the-
Only black bitch. Mayor, please.
Miss Nancy,
Yes,
is there any way, Mr. Gerald Brinkley, one of my other witnesses, I sent him the Zoom link, was trying to get in? Is there any way he can get in?
Miss Andre just stepped away from her. Okay.
What happened?
Hi,
There's someone that
Gerald
they'd like to have
Brinkley.
come in and join us who is with Miss Barksdale.
Gerald
I don't see anybody in the waiting room.
You don't, his name is Gerald Brinkley. He's a witness.
Yep.
I sent him the link. He said he was trying to join. No.
No.
You know how to hit it. Send it to me. I'll try to work with it. I'll put him on freeway on my phone. Oh, you got to what's the
Melissa, if they're both in the same room and they're both trying to
Yeah,
connect,
it's gonna
be a
cause
problem.
Crazy echo, just like when her phone was on with the with,
Yeah.
with the computer. So yeah, one of them is not gonna be able to stay on there else from nowhere.
They could be on the same device.
Yeah, we could
He can just
sit
scooch
in her
in.
place type of thing. Yeah.
Ms. Skiles will be joining the meeting momentarily, is my understanding.
Yeah, I see her in the waiting room. I let her in. It's just giving a hard time having her join. There she is.
Okay, we're back.
Yes, I believe Miss Skiles is here. She's just connecting to audio, so just a moment. Miss Skiles?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
I can see you. Nancy?
Oh, okay. I'm not sure exactly where we stand at this point. We have some confusion about who is already identified and has the information, and we asked for Ms. Skiles to join us because she supposedly can help provide the link between the city staff and Ms. Barksdale.
So Ms. Skiles, could you identify yourself so we have you on record?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, a good afternoon, Amy Skiles on behalf of the City of Philadelphia.
And then,
And you're an attorney?
Yes, correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that for the record.
so Dominique, did you want to ask her?
Yes,
this?
so Ms. Skiles, Ms. Barksdale is representing to this board that she's been in communication with you regarding the exhibits that she has that she wants to introduce for evidence today, as well as, I'm guessing, what witnesses she may want to call for this matter. Ms. Barksdale, please jump in if you have any correction to that statement.
No, that's correct. I just reached out to Ms. Styles and she told me to reach out to Mr. Rulo. He would be handling it. And then I tried to reach out to him to let him know what I wanted to introduce, is what Ms. Styles and I talked about yesterday.
Okay, so you were made aware as a city representative that there are materials that she did want to introduce for this hearing or exhibits.
I did, and I gave her Mr. Rulo's email and phone number so that information could be provided.
Did you see that information at any point in time?
No, it was my understanding. I did speak with Miss Barksdale yesterday. I asked if she had digital copies to share with the board and with the city. And as of yesterday, she said she didn't have any digital copies, that she would have to scan everything. She had physical copies, so I have not seen anything.
Were you involved earlier with the master's hearing?
No, this matter has actually been listed before this board a number of times, and I was the assigned solicitor at that time. So that's been my involvement in the case so far.
And was there any active discussion in the times that you were present that covered the background and information that might have been on those papers?
No, I have no knowledge. That information has never been shared with me. Miss Barksdale said that she had reports and had witnesses to call. I don't have the names, and I've never seen any of the reports.
Okay.
If I may, I was looking at the record here, and if Ms. Andre wants to correct me, my understanding is that this was actually first listed on July 18th of 2019. And that there were subsequent continuances since then. I'd also like to point out, in terms of the knowledge of the procedures used in these instances, it was my understanding, based on notes that the department has, that Ms. Barksdale is actually an attorney. And so I think in this instance, respectfully, that the knowledge of having to provide these materials well in advance of a hearing, is I think something that would be clear, respectfully.
Mr. Rulo, I hear you also as an attorney, but I think in this instance where we're going to land is that she did communicate to your colleague, a city representative, that she did at least have materials she wanted to introduce, no matter how late they were. Actually, it was mentioned before today. And I think that was what we were really trying to ascertain, if it was going to basically be an ambush to a degree for you to be able to actually adequately review and defend against the material she has. She at least put you on notice that she had some type of document she wanted to introduce. I mean, we'll take it back to opine on it, but I think with this representation from your city, thank you, Ms. Skiles, for coming in and speaking with us. It's one of those situations where we've kind of gotten things late in the past from your side of the house. It's a weird dynamic. As far as the witness, though, I think we can rely on with the representation that Ms. Rubikowski is going to make to this board, as you normally do in these matters. But as far as the documentation, I do believe we probably can take it for at least a review. And then obviously you can lodge your objection to admittance to it into evidence at that time.
I understood and completely respect that. The one thing that I would just add, well, two things is, one, it sounded like Ms. Barksdale was provided with my email address and I never received that. But two, it does not sound like there are digital copies. So what I would request in that instance is that there be a continuance here, and I believe that this would be the first continuance on the city's behalf, because I think that we should have an opportunity to review the digital copies so that I can clearly see them, and then also have an opportunity to review those documents, because are these 5 pages of documents or 100 pages of documents? I don't know. And just practically speaking, if there's not digital copies, I don't know how they're going to be displayed so that witnesses can clearly see them.
Okay, so do you guys want to take this back and then we can make a determination?
I do have a question though. It was alluded to by Mr. Rulo, but Ms. Barksdale, are there digital copies? I mean, yesterday you were told that Mr. Rulo needed them, or that you were to give them to Mr. Rulo, but do you have them in digital copy form? Can you send them to me?
So I have the contract and everything. All I need to do is scan it in. First of all, I did not have the email. I did have the number, Ms. Sykes, because we got disconnected. So I did have the number, but I did not have the email. But I do have copies, that I can scan in and send, go to a Staples or somewhere and get them scanned in and send them.
Ms. Barksdale, I don't understand why you haven't done that yet.
How are we supposed to see them today? And I'm just asking, how are we supposed to see the documents?
Well, I can get them scanned in, or I could take a picture. Why I haven't done that?
People like
because
to
I
have a
was-
chance to review and read and understand what they're looking at.
How did you think we were gonna look at them today?
Well, I reached out to Mr. Rulo to see,
Well,
because
but you're telling me now you still.
well,
have to go to
perhaps
statement.
we and I could have looked at them and resolved this and not a hearing today.
Okay,
Well, you could have done that before yesterday. This has been listed and continued at your request. I don't understand why the documents are still sitting on your desk as paper when you knew we were gonna wanna look at them today, even as a board. You
I-
could have sent them to Miss Andre.
I will also, and to the extent that the board does continue this, based on the representation that there's going to be testimony about what Inspector Stallworth was saying, that if this is continued, now that I know this, I will call to have Inspector Stallworth as a witness at the next hearing. I would have had him scheduled today had I known about that otherwise.
Well, he was the inspector on this case. I mean, he the one wrote this up.
I think we should, if the board would allow, can the board go in the back to have a discussion about this matter? I think a lot of over talking is happening, and if the board was just clear on how everybody feels, then perhaps we can go forward. So if everyone can just hold on, I'm gonna put the board in a room. Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
Ms. Sykes, I thought you couldn't be here today. I would have preferred to be working with you. I didn't know, I thought you couldn't be here.
We, I could, we don't keep the cases. We, month by month, they kind of transition, but so it was just not my, my turn.
But my question is.
Hold
well,
on 1 second. Ms. Skiles, it is recording, just to let you know.
Okay, it wasn't
Okay,
my.
okay, that's
my
okay,
turn to
okay.
be on with the board today.
All right, is everybody back?
Everybody but Paula. One second. And Nancy.
And Nancy, okay.
Nancy. Okay, they're back.
All righty. So we actually met in the back, the tax review board members that are present today, and we've decided to grant the city's objection to the introduction of the exhibits by the petitioner, Ms. Barksdale, and we're going to proceed forward today with today's hearing as scheduled. Now, Ms. Barksdale, this is your petition, so you have the burden of proof, so you can go first by telling this board what you're here for today. Or we can have, oh, excuse me, the city needs to give us the numbers first, and then Ms. Barksdale, you can introduce your case in chief. Thank you.
So,
We already got the numbers for the record, so Ms. Barksdale, you
Okay.
can.
yeah, we
Go right
did,
ahead,
we
Ms.
did get the
Barksdale.
numbers, yes. Right. So now, the numbers have been read into the record, and we want to hear first from the petitioner. So please state your case for our consideration at the board. Ms. Barksdale, are you there?
Yes,
We'd like to hear from you about your position on this matter with as much information as you can provide with the.
without my witnesses and everything, without being able to have witnesses, just what I.
I thought
could
you
do.
had a witness who was already joining with
They
you.
was
so-
trying, yeah, somebody was trying to join on Zoom, and there is one person
Okay, well,
here with
We,
me.
we thought that they had joined with you and were coming in from
No,
here.
no, one was joining on Zoom someplace else. But anyway, here's what happened. I received a call from neighbors that are no longer there, that my property, that something was going on the property, on my grandmother's property.
When in time was this?
So this
Approximately.
was in May, early May of 2018. And then I got a call from someone from LNI that they were gonna knock down my property if I didn't get up there and shore it up. So
Just
May
gonna object on the
20th,
basis
so
of
May
hearsay here.
20th, so May 20th, I get a call. I live in Washington, DC. I get to Philadelphia on May 21st at the property at 40 East Pastoria Street. I show up at the property. LNI was at this property, Mr. Stallings, the LNI guy. I asked him, what do I need to do? Because I had a roofer and an engineer look at the property and say all I needed to do was get the siding done. Nothing was wrong with the roof. In fact, the heat was still on in the property. It was just the wall had bulged because of water. So I asked the LNI guy, what did I need to do? Because I didn't know, and I don't live in the city. He said I needed to get the property.
Objection,
He
hearsay.
said I need to get him the property shored up.
The rules are informal, Mr. Rulo. We note your objection.
If I may, it seems like, just very briefly for the purposes of the record, it seems like a lot of the argument and factual assertions that are going to be made today by the appellant are based on things that Mr. Stallworth said to either a witness or Ms. Barksdale herself. So I just kind of like to go back to that, I understand that the rules here are a little bit different, but if this case is going to be premised on the fact that of what Inspector Stallworth said, I just reiterate the city's request at this point that it be continued, because not only it seems like the entire case is based on a witness that I can have present, and if I had noticed, would have been present.
Okay, so the issue at hand is this case has been continued a number of times, and here's on the other flip side. I understand that the petitioner has not given you notice of her desire to have this witness here, the city representative here. But the concern we have is that at the end of the day, she can introduce all of these statements, all these hearsay statements, all this testimony of he say, she say, but ultimately, if we have nobody here to refute it, it's going to be based upon our ability and the probativeness of us believing what she's saying. You do have a witness from the city, Mr. Robakowski, who can testify to the majority of this, even if he can't testify to actually the representation she's making on the record. So we would like to proceed forward based upon that. If it reaches a point where we feel like we cannot make an assessment or ascertain whether the representations are true, false, or indifferent, at that point in time, we will take into consideration that maybe we do need to have a rebuttal witness come from the city in order to testify to the representation she's making on the record right now. But as it stands today, we would like to hear her version of the events, let her have her witnesses do her case in chief. You obviously have all the right to cross-examine her and her witnesses, and then proceed forward with putting your case on.
And I appreciate that, Ms. Ward. I just wanted to note it for the record, and I completely
Thank you.
understand that decision. It makes sense to me. I'm
Thank
just, that's going to be a standing objection.
Understood, and it's noted for the record, and as such, you don't need to keep objecting to it, but if you do feel like it gets too egregious, knock yourself out. All right.
Thank
Keep
you,
going,
Ms.
Ms.
Ward.
Barksdale.
Thank you.
So I showed up on May 21st in front of the property, and L&I was there as well, Eugene Stallings. And we had a conversation as to what I needed to do. And he recommended a Dave Regardi to do work for me. That's a contractor who I paid $4,500, entered into a contract with him that day. And what he was supposed to do was to, there were plenty of pictures that the city had, was to shore up and secure the property and make safe the property, my understanding. And he had conversations. There was a former L&I guy there by the name of Mr. Bradley Phillips. There was Craig Fulmore, Mr. Gerald Brinkley, all present when all of this interaction took place. And my only concern was, what do I need to do? He explained to me what I needed to do. That exact day, that time, May 21st, I entered into a contract with this contractor to do the work on the property to get it shored up and made safe the premises until I could get money to come back and do repairs and renovate and get the wall fixed. And I asked Mr. Stallings if I needed to get any documentation. He said, no, my contractor would come down to the city and get whatever paperwork. I emailed the contractor so many times to get a copy of whatever the form is that he was supposed to file, that Mr. Stallings told me that my contractor would file. But based on the work, and we took pictures, Mr. Stallings said the property was fine until I can get money to shore it up. Fast forward, things happen, life has happened, months go by. I'm trying to get money to get work done to the property. Then I get a call in October that they had demolished my property. I didn't get any notice about that. And the same way they called me to come up there to make the property safe, I got phone calls from L&I about it, that someone could have called me. First thing I hear from a neighbor is that they came and knocked your property down. And I said, what do you mean? And that's when I learned. I came to Philadelphia in November and my property was knocked down. And I had not received any certified notice that they were going to demolish my property. And then I get a bill for $69,000 that I can't pay. I have information that they remodel and renovate and doing all this work in that neighborhood. So they knocking down Black folks' property in the neighborhood because they doing all this, and that the L&I folks are in with the demolition companies to just come and do that. And then we have to pay because
Objection, relevance.
because they're rebuilding the neighborhood.
Ms. Barksdale, does anybody on the board wish to object or to sustain or whatever?
Alice has sustained.
Not sustained. That's not.
And so
relevant.
I'm relying on an L&I worker, employee from the city of Philadelphia, who was there, who told me what I needed to do to shore up my property. And now I'm supposed to pay $76,000 or $86,000. I've been paying my taxes on my property.
Excuse me
And
one second. Did you visit the property in any time between when you made those arrangements in October and when, excuse me, in May and October, when you heard from a neighbor? Were you there in between to see what was happening, what the condition was like, or anything else about it?
I looked at the property and Mr. Fulmore, who looked at the property in August, and it was still shored up, still had the,
Excuse me,
um,
who did you
in
say?
August,
Who's Mr. Pullmore?
Mr. Craig Fulmore, who's one of my witnesses.
Oh, so actually, could we hear testimony from Mr. Pullmore more so than from you on that topic, please?
Sure. Mhm.
Good
Please
afternoon.
identify yourself for the record.
I'm Craig Fulmore, a
Are you an
resident.
attorney?
No, I'm a resident.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth with everything that comes before the board?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. You can proceed.
and I'm a master plumber in Washington DC. I was born and raised on that block next door to that property. And what you asking me, what you want me to say? Oh, when I went up there, I go up there quite frequently. My family lives there, been in that area for 50-something years. And I went to look at the property every month, because I do, like I said, I'm a master plumber plus a teacher plumber. I'm a journeyman plumber. I'm an instructor, plumber instructor, just say that. And I go there all the time, look at the property, and also it was some boiler work we was doing, fixing the property up. So I go there months. My whole family is there, let's just say that. And so I always looked at what went on, kind of overseeing, make sure nobody don't break into it, because the boiler, our equipment was in there, my equipment. So I go there every month.
Okay, so just to clarify your testimony, you're testifying that you actually visited a property monthly from May to October?
Yes, yep, sure did.
and you were-
Let me say this. Now I got sick. I'm visually impaired on
Mhm.
my right side. Right. So I got sick one time.
Mhm.
So the month I didn't go was August.
Okay. And you were hired by the petitioner, Ms. Barksdale, or you were assisting the petitioner, Ms. Barksdale, by going to actually look at the property and doing work in there?
No, I wasn't assisting her. I'm up in Philly all the time.
Okay.
So I had done some boiler work a long time ago. I grew up next door to that property.
Okay. But you weren't actually inside, you actually did not go inside of the property?
No. I mean, at one time, about a year ago, when I did some boiler work in there.
Okay, so when you visited the
I
property.
mean, when I say a year ago, during them dates.
Okay, so you were just actually observing the property, you weren't actually doing any work in the property?
Like before then, like I said, I guess it was 2018, I had put a boiler in the property.
Okay, but between May and October, you weren't doing any active work or construction on the property?
No, I'm just looking at the property.
Okay, did you observe anybody doing any active work on the property from May to October?
I saw the contractor who Ms. Barksdale hired, because I was there when Stallings actually talked about it.
Okay, and so who is the contractor that she hired?
It was a guy that I don't know him personally.
You know his
Mr.
name?
No, I mean, I didn't look at the contract myself.
Okay, I have no additional questions.
I'm going to interrupt for
I know
just a moment.
Stallings.
The stenographer has asked for the spelling of your last name.
Fulmore, F as in Frank, U as in up, L as in Larry, M as in man, O as in orange, R as in Reed, E as in Edward, Craig Fulmore, 1 L, 1 O.
Did you get that?
Yeah, but I was there when Stallings.
I'm trying to find out whether the stenographer got that spelling.
I did, and I thank you.
Okay.
I
Sorry
just-
to interrupt, but she had requested that earlier and there seemed to be enough of a pause to act on it.
I just want to clarify something, and I guess this is almost like a point of order, but I just want to make it clear for the record whether or not any of the witnesses are consulting with documents that are in front of them. I just want to make that clear I request that be clear to the record whether or not they are consulting with these documents in front of them.
No,
Do you have any documents that you produced that you want to reference? Or are you going just from your own observations when you visited in the area of the property?
I don't have any documents.
Okay,
And that same question, I would just ask that if another witness is present or Ms. Barksdale comes back, that we also have that clarified as to whether or not any of the testimony is coming from documents or notes that are in front of
Okay.
the applicable witness.
okay. Ms. Barksdale, do you have more to add?
The only documents that I have, but I don't have them, are the ones I was gonna give you, the contract or whatever. Mr. Fulmore has no documents. He was there when we were there with Mr. Stallings in a contract.
I think that's been made clear. My question to you
Well,
is,
it
do
actually
you have
hasn't
more
been made
information?
clear. So she needs to ask him the question and he needs to put it on the record in his testimony.
Okay, so I'll ask him. Mr. Fulmore, in May of 2018, May 21st of 2018, were you on past 40 East Pastoria Street?
Yes,
And who was there when you were there?
I was there. Inspector Stallings was there. The other guy, Jerry. I think it was the contractor was there.
And can you tell us what happened while you were there?
All right, I was up in the air, then Miss Barksdale told me that the property was knocked down and she got a call from fire inspector, license inspection. That was on the 21st. And then I met her up there. Then I saw the condition of what was happening.
And was there a contractor that did the work?
Eventually, yes, the contractor that did the work, it was a contractor there, maybe about 2 or 3 hours later. And so she
Who
had
recommended the contractor to Ms. Barksdale?
Inspector Stallings.
And what else did Mr. Stallings, to the best of your recollection, said?
He said that it was somebody that he was familiar with could do the work. And I will get in touch with them. So the gentleman showed up and got in touch with them. And they, Ms. Barksdale talked, and Stallings was present, I was present, and then they talked about what were the costs. Then Ms. Barksdale, all right, I will pay to get it shored up for safety reasons. Then after that happened, the prior months after that, got it shored up. And
I'm just going to make an objection on basis of narrative.
Okay. We're gonna overrule that. Let him finish testifying. You'll have an opportunity to cross-examine both Miss Barksdale and Mr. Fulmore. Go ahead.
all right, then after it got shored up, it was a blue tarp on it. And then the months that I was going to inspect the neighborhood, I mean, the property, the tarp was on there tight. And then, like I said, then eventually the month of August, I did not go up there that month.
Okay. Do you have any more questions for your witness, Ms. Barksdale?
The court reporter has a clarification if it's possible. We've been talking about a Mr. Stallings and a Mr. Stallworth, and is that the same person?
Well,
And
I
I don't-
believe it's Stallings is his last
I didn't
name.
remember his name. Stallings. Yes,
Okay.
it's the same person. I mean, I never met anybody else up there but him.
Okay, I guess I should ask the board or the attorneys. I don't know. So I'm gonna have two people on the record as an inspector.
I think Mr. Ribikowski has the correct name.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Board Member Weiss.
Mr. Ribikowski, what was the name of the inspector? The correct name.
It was Inspector Stallworth, Stallworth.
Thank you.
Right. Was it Eugene, his first name?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't know if it was Stallings or Starworth, but I remember Eugene because he talked to me.
Okay.
I'm just going to make an objection at this point. If in terms of my ability to cross-examine, if we could have one witness testifying at a time and then proceed to the next witness, because we seem to be going back and forth, which is going to create difficulties in terms of being able to cross-examine, in addition to with the record, as I think that we've already started to see.
Okay, so which witness do you want to cross-examine first, Mr. Rulo? Ms. Barksdale or Mr. Fillmore?
Well, I guess since we just finished up with Mr. Fillmore, I'd request that that go first, assuming that there are no other witnesses. I thought that it had been indicated that there were additional witnesses as well, but I will.
Yeah, there was one who was trying to come join the Zoom, but it doesn't appear that, I just texted him, it doesn't appear that he was able to get on.
Okay.
I'm going
So
to
you
request to
can-
cross-examine Mr. Fillmore at this point.
Okay, proceed forward.
Good afternoon, Mr. Fillmore. Can you clarify for us, where do you live?
I live in DC and Philadelphia.
What is your primary residence?
My primary residence is Washington, DC.
How many times a year do you go up to Philadelphia?
Probably at least 20 times a year.
And what is your purpose of going up 20 times a year? Do you have family there?
I have 6 sisters, 12 uncles, nieces and nephews about 15. Yeah, family.
Thank you. And each of those times you go visit this property? Excuse me, 40 East Pistoria Street?
No, you mean each of those times when I go? No, I don't visit it all the time. I grew up there. My grandmother used to live next door.
And moving to 2018, how did you learn that there was something happening on the property?
I was up there at the time and Miss Barksdale had told me that there was something going on at the property and license inspection. Can you meet me up there? And I told her I was already up here on the 20th. That was the 21st, I believe.
That was May 21st, 2018?
Yes.
And can you clarify, just identify each individual you recall meeting with?
Mr. Stallworth was there. Another guy named Jerry, Miss Barksdale. That's all.
Are you finished? Excuse me.
Huh?
Are you finished?
Yes.
That's all the individuals. Thank you. Okay, 1 second. And between May and August of 2018, how many times did you visit the property?
Say that again, please.
Between May and August of 2018, how many times did you visit the property?
I'm a rough estimate. I say I visited about 6 times.
Did you do any work on the property yourself during that time?
No.
And did you observe it?
I'm a plumber, not a guy that fixes walls.
And during any of those occasions, did you observe anyone working on the property?
Yes.
And who did you observe working on the property?
The contractor that eventually came up to the site.
And was that work proceeding each time that you went to the property?
No.
Did you go up to the property in July of 2018?
No.
Did you go up to the property in August of 2018?
Yes, I stopped by there.
When in August of 2018 did you go to the property?
I don't remember the date.
When you were there in August of 2018, did you observe any work being done at the property?
No. It was the framing was on it and it was a tarp over it. So I didn't lift up the tarp.
That does it with my questions for this witness.
Thank you. Ms. Barksdale, do you have any other testimony that you want to put on the record? For yourself, rather.
The only thing I will say is that I relied on the licensing inspector who referred me to the contractor to do the work and informed me that as long as it was secure and safe, that I had time to get funding to try to get work done to my property. So I was appalled and shocked to learn that they had went in and demolished my property and want me to pay somebody $69,000 when I relied on Eugene Stallworth and what he said to me. And I paid someone thousands of dollars to do what he said needed done to shore up and make safe the property until I could get some money to try and get the property fixed up. And so when I went up to Philadelphia in November, and the property had been demolished and it was level and there was nobody there. And I received a bill saying I owe $69,000 or whatever dollars for my property that somebody knocked down. When I looked at the documents and pictures that I have, the same way it was shored up and made safe in May, based on the information that the city has provided, was the same shoring that the property had. And that's what Mr. Stallworth said we needed until I could get money and financing. I had an engineer take a look at it, get money and financing to do the work on the property.
Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Barksdale. Mr. Rulo, do you have any cross-examination for the petitioner?
Yes, and I'll try to be brief, and I'm just going, I know this is just for the purposes of the record, but I'm just going to make an objection on basis of best evidence rule, because I think there's been a lot of testimony here about the underlying documents, which again, we don't have. I understand that we're going to proceed. I just want to know.
We've been there.
I know, I apologize. for
We
repeating these
understand,
things.
but
Yeah.
we
I
know
will
that
get
that's
going.
on the record already.
I will get going. Good afternoon, Ms. Barksdale. Regarding the property, 40 East Pastoria Street, how long have you owned that property?
Since probably 1995, somewhere around there.
And you reside in Washington, D.C., correct?
I do.
How long have you resided in Washington, D.C.?
Probably since I left Philadelphia, probably about over 25 years, 30 years.
Did you ever reside at this property?
No, I never lived there.
Did you have family who lived there?
Yeah, I had nephews who stayed there, cousins that stayed there, people, yeah.
Since 1995, approximately how long do you believe that the property, how many years do you believe that the property was occupied?
Well, up until I was told that they had to get out of the property, it was occupied off and on. You know, relatives would move in and move out.
So at the time of May 2018, the property was, to your knowledge, occupied?
Well, a cousin was staying there, but we were notified they needed to get out of the property.
So the property was occupied in 2018, prior to this notice.
I believe, but I don't have those documents, so I can't recall.
And I'm correct that you were at the property on May 21st of 2018?
I was at the property. I came specifically up to Philadelphia to take care of that issue that, you know, to make the property safe.
So you had notice as of May 21st, 2018, that this violation existed?
Well, that's when I got the notice that there was a violation because it was on the door, but I hadn't been traveling up to this. I hadn't been up to the property, and he pulled. That's why I didn't mind signing the green card, because I was there doing what I was told to do, because it was stuck on the door, and Mr. Stallworth pulled it off and asked me to sign. And I said, fine, because I'm doing what you're asking me to do. I don't mind signing the card saying that you notified me because you're telling me what needs to be done. And I'm paying for the work that you said, and you referred the guy, Dave Riccardi, the contractor, to do the work. So fine, I signed the card. Yes, while I was there on May 21st, signed it. To acknowledge that he notified me of what I needed to do and that I was going to do it that day, which is what I did.
Did you at any time appeal that notice of violation?
Well, I wasn't told I needed to appeal it because I had done what was required, make safe the property until I can get it fixed. I was told that once I did that, had that work done, that their violation no longer existed because I was making safe. The problem was the premises wasn't safe and could be a hazard, even though it was blocked off by a yard and all that, but it could be a hazard. And he said I needed to move all those bricks and stuff out. You have pictures of all of that and what needed to be done. I said, well, tell me, I don't know. I'm not familiar with who could do it. He recommended the contractor and I had it done. And so he said that the contractor would come down to get whatever the proper document is once you make safe property and you do away with whatever the harm and safety that it would cause to citizens, that you were fine. I said, listen, it's going to take a while for me to get finances to try to get this place up and running. And my response was, that's fine. If you've made it safe, that's what we need you to do, secure it and make safe so it will not harm citizens. So in my mind, there was no longer a violation because I had cured the violation by making the property safe, according to the L&I guy.
Did you obtain any document recording that you had made the property safe?
That's what I asked Mr. Stallworth, Eugene, did I need to go downtown at that time once he took pictures and he said things was fine and he signed some document? And do I need to go downtown and do anything? He said, no, your contractor will come down to get the piece of paper. And I was trying after that to reach the contractor to get a copy of that paper. So my understanding was that after I did what he informed me to do in terms of making this property safe, that the premise was no longer in violation, he pulled the notice or whatever off the door. And I signed the card. He came back after the guy did the work. Once I hired a contractor, paid all the money, then he came back to inspect it and said it was fine, the work that was done. So in my mind, so I'm back down in Washington, and during that time, there was some illnesses, deaths, there was a lot going on. So no, I wasn't checking on stuff, but I just relied on the license and inspection guy to help me, to tell me what to do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come up there. They could have knocked the property down there. Then I wouldn't have paid almost $8,000. I wouldn't have paid that money to secure it if I was going to know that someone was going to come in and demolish the property and cost me $69,000. So I thought I was doing the right thing.
I'm just going to object again on this narrative.
Okay, so can I just to cut through all of that, it's a yes or no question. Did you receive any documentation from the city of Philadelphia that said that the property was no longer imminently dangerous?
I didn't receive anything from the city saying it was or was not, no.
Okay, you received a notice and you signed a green card, so you received something. Did you receive anything after that? After you signed the green card and after all of these after that notification, seeing there's an orange sticker on your door that said, hey, the property is no longer imminently dangerous?
No.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other questions, Mr. Rulo?
I will be very brief. Yes.
Okay.
Did you yes or no? Did you confirm that your contractor pulled what's called a make safe permit for this property?
I did. Yes, I asked the contractor and he said yes.
Yes or no? Did you get a copy of that make safe permit?
He did not provide a copy, but I have emails asking him for copies of it.
You indicated that the inspector pulled the orange notice off of the door. When did that happen?
Once he came back to see that the property, because when we first was there, of course, the property was in the condition it was in, and he said,
my question was when did that happen?
Well, I need to explain to you when it happened, so I have to explain to you how it happened to get to when it happened.
Could you just take a moment to reflect and try to give us a date that you think it happened in?
I'm sorry. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Instead of editorializing or doing a narrative, explaining us how we got there, if you could take a moment to kind of just reflect on the time in your mind and let him know the date or around the date, just provide a direct answer.
Well, everything
for the record.
21st, when the property was secured.
All right, I just request permission to share document on my screen now.
Okay.
And again, I will endeavor to be brief here. Can you see something displayed on the screen as Exhibit F?
Yes,
Okay. Can you still see that there?
yes,
Okay. I'm going to scroll down here, and is this the property in question?
yes.
What is the date of this photograph?
August 22, 2018.
I'm going to scroll down to another photograph here. What is the date of this photograph?
August 22nd, 2018.
Okay. I'm going to zoom in on this photograph here. Can you see the front door of the property? I'm highlighting it with my cursor here.
Yes,
Is there an orange notice on that door?
it looks like there's another notice on the door.
And this is 3 months after May of 2018, correct? I'll strike that. Final question for now. Ms. Barksdale, where are you employed?
What does my employment have to do with anything?
Are you objecting?
Yes,
Are you objecting on the basis of relevance?
right, correct.
Board members, I'm just going to offer that well, first off, I think that the rules here, as we've said, are more informal, and I'm entitled to get an answer to that question. And I believe that the answer to that question is going to be probative to issues of credibility here.
What was the question again?
He asked
Where
for-
am I employed?
Oh,
I work for the federal government, but what does that have to do with this?
What is your position with the federal government?
I'm sorry,
Are you a general counsel at the Department of Justice?
I work in CRS,
I
And
don't know.
you're-
what's
And you're an
that?
attorney, correct?
Community Relations Service.
And you're an attorney, correct?
I am.
That does it for my questions.
I have just two follow-ups for Ms. Barksdale. When you arrived in May to look at the property, when was the last time before May of 18 you had been there?
I think. Probably during the winter months, sometime during the winter months.
And when you arrived there, what condition did you see the property in?
In May or the winter months.
Okay.
That there was a hole in the side of the property and there was a lot of bricks and stuff on the side of the property.
And the back of the property?
The back of the property was fine.
Okay, and it's your testimony that someone in your family lived there during 2018?
I had a cousin staying there. I'm trying to think, just trying to recall if it were 2017 or 2018 when they were staying there. I'm not 100% sure.
And no one informed you who was staying in that property that there was a hole in the wall?
Well, I saw it in the wintertime that there was a hole in the wall and I needed to get something done. And so I reached out to try to get it done. I reached out to a relative to see if they could find someone, but the weather was bad and all of that.
Okay,
And
thank
then-
you. That's answers my question.
At this time, I'd like to call Supervisor Rybakowski.
Please do.
Thank you. Supervisor Rybakowski, can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay. With the board's permission, I'd like to share my screen again.
Yes,
please.
1 second. Pardon. Technology issues. We still live in the joys of the Zoom era.
Are you bringing something up on your screen?
I am. It's taking
Okay,
a second.
I just wasn't quite sure what you were attempting to do there.
I am still not the best with technology after all of these years, despite my age. So I appreciate your
I
patience
can,
with me.
I can empathize.
Supervisor Rybakowski, can you see what's been displayed on the screen as Exhibit B?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, before we get there, what is your role with the Department of Licenses and Inspections?
I'm a construction compliance supervisor assigned to contractual services unit or emergency response. We are assigned the task of issuing properties or declaring properties as unsafe or eminently dangerous, and then inspecting the make safe permit or demolition permit to satisfy that violation.
And approximately how many properties would you say that you visited to evaluate whether or not they are unsafe or imminently dangerous? Estimate.
I wouldn't have that number. I've been with the department since 2014. I would say several thousand.
And you've testified as an expert witness in these cases as well before, right?
I have.
Okay. And you did not visit this property, but you're familiar with the records of it, correct?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to move now to Exhibit B. I'm going to zoom out here. What is this image displaying?
This is the side property of 40 East Pastorius following a collapse that occurred at the side load-bearing wall with the department responding in May 20th of 2018.
And that date is reflected on this image, correct?
Correct.
And this image and the ones that follow, they come from LNI's database, correct?
Correct.
And those are maintained in the ordinary course of the business?
Yes.
Okay. And you've already reviewed those and the general records for this, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. I'm moving down to the second photo. What's the date of this photo?
This photograph is dated May 20th of 2018. Is a photograph of the posting to the front of the property at 40 East Pastorius, declaring the property as eminently dangerous.
And this photo is showing the front of the property on that same date, correct?
Correct.
And moving down, I'm moving to, Exhibit C. Can you see that up on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. And what is this document?
This is a notice of the property being declared as eminently dangerous. This notice was printed, or at least the date on this notice is 5/21/2018, referencing case number 634887, again, declaring the property at 40 East Pastorius Street as eminently dangerous. The notice was issued by Inspector Stallworth.
And what's the address that's on this document?
The address is 3626 Park Northwest Place, Washington, D.C. 20010.
And then moving down here, this is the paragraph where it informs individuals cited that they have a right to appeal these violations, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And there was no appeal filed here, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Moving down to what, you give me 1 second. I just want to note for the record that the city is striking Exhibit D from its exhibit packet. Moving down 1 second.
You said Exhibit D, Mr. Rulo?
Yes, D as in dog.
Okay.
Sharing the screen once again. Can you see what's been displayed as Exhibit F on the screen, as in Frank?
Yes.
Okay, moving down here. Zooming out slightly. What is the date of this photograph?
This is a photograph taken of the property in August 22nd, 2018.
And what does this photograph show?
This shows that a semblance of bracing has been installed on the remaining side of the property at 40 East Pastorius.
And then we see that there's a blue tarp covering the portion that had collapsed, correct?
Correct.
Moving down here, we see another angle of that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then on this third image, again, we have another angle.
Yes.
I'm going to skip down here a bit. What is seen in this image?
This is a portion of the bracing that was affixed to the property that actually fell off of the property. You can see that it's angled cut, as it would be part of that bracing that was installed on the property, no longer attached to the property. In fact, it fell off and landed in the breezeway, damaging the fence that is across that frontage.
And the property, this is the property next door. that is around, I would say, am I correct, 6 feet from the other property?
This is a photograph of the breezeway or the opening, but yes, this is the property to the right of 40 East Beth Story.
And based on the photographs, are there indications that that property was occupied at this time?
I'm not aware of it being vacant.
Thank you. All right, moving down, is this another image of 40 East Pastorius?
Yes,
Okay, and what does this image show?
shows the sidewall, one of the fracture points.
Okay, and again, this is the August 22nd, 2018, correct?
The photograph is date stamped August 22nd, 2018.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Give me 1 second, please. Supervisor Rybakowski, when a property is cited as imminently dangerous, the owner needs to obtain what's called a make-safe permit to correct the violation. Is that correct?
Yes,
After May of 2018, did the owner obtain a make-safe permit?
no,
Prior to those August of 2018 photographs, did the owner ever obtain a make-safe permit?
no,
Okay. And it was after these August of 2018 photos that that were from a city inspection that the department began the process of obtaining bids to demolish the property, correct?
yes,
Okay. And throughout that time, there remains the orange notice declaring the property imminently dangerous affixed to the front door of the property, correct?
the photographs that were just exhibited were from August 22nd. The property was placed out to bid on or around September 18th of 2018.
Okay. And I'm going to share my screen. Sorry to go back and forth 1 second. Can you see what's been displayed on the screen as Exhibit G?
Yes,
Okay. And is this a copy of the bid that was obtained to demolish the structure?
this is actually the procurement paperwork. Once the bid is awarded to the demolition contractor, this is the notice to proceed from the procurement office telling them to proceed with the demolition.
And the date of this document is September 20th of 2018, correct?
Yes,
And at that time, there still was no make-safe permit that had been applied for or obtained for the property.
correct.
Moving down, and there were 3 bids that the department obtained for this, correct? 4, excuse me.
At the bid, or this is a copy of the bid sheet, the sign-in sheet, there were 4 contractors that potentially submitted bids for this property that signed in.
And the city's policy is to go with the lowest bid that it receives, correct?
Correct,
And it did go with the lowest bid that it received in this instance, correct?
correct.
1 second. And after it was bid out, when did the department complete the demolition of the structure?
I believe it was sometime in October, the final inspection took place.
Okay. And when that final inspection occurred, had the department at that point received any application or issued a make-safe permit for the property?
No,
1 second. Okay, that completes my questions for Supervisor Rybakowski.
Got too much going on.
Petitioner Barksdale, do you have any cross-examination?
Yeah, I had a question. If Michael could go back to the exhibit that shows 05/20/2018 at 11:38 of the property, the front of the property with the notice that was on the door.
1 second, please.
It says the date is 05/20/2018, 11:30. The time is 11:38.
Can you see that up there? I just want to also clarify for the record that that is image 2 on exhibit B as in boy.
Okay.
And can you go to the exhibit on August 20th, 2018? Or actually, yeah, August 22nd, 2018. Your exhibit of August 22nd, 2018.
I guess just objection. Was there a question or statement about?
No,
the-
I just wanted to clarify the two different notices on the door and the one that was there and removed, and then if there were another notice put on the door. So if you can go to August 22nd, 2018.
Is this the image?
Yeah, so
If I
want,
could just very quickly, I just want to clarify for the record, for the stenographer, what this is. This is exhibit F and its image 2, 3, 4.
so
Image 7 of exhibit F as in Frank.
So I'm trying to figure, what I need to understand is what is the date on that notice on the door? From August 22nd, 2018, what is the date of that violation notice?
Well, the date on the violation notice is from May of 2018, as the property is still in a that has been declared as eminently dangerous. The notice is still that the property has not been repaired and is still in that state. I do not and cannot see the date on this posting, but the property is still in that violation state from May of 2018.
Well, I would argue that,
Objection. This is cross-examination. It's not argument.
well, right, exactly. You're absolutely right. Sorry. The notice on May 22nd that Mr. Stalin signed off, I need to see the date of this notice if this is a different notice that was put up after we made the property safe.
Was that I'm sorry.
A question,
With
yeah. Yeah, do you
respect.
have a copy of the notice?
There wouldn't be another notice. We served notice on you on May of 2018 when Inspector Stallworth physically handed you the notice of violation. I know he physically handed you the notice of violation because I personally printed out the notice of violation and handed it to him in the office to give to you.
So Mr. Rubikowski, your testimony is that as far as you know, that notice on the door is the same notice that was posted in May.
Yes.
Thank you. I think that answers it.
Thank you, Ms. Paula.
Do you have any additional questions, Ms. Barksdale?
No.
Okay, I have a couple questions for you, Mr. Rubikowski. Could you walk through, so you said that she received a notice in hand on May of 2028, May of 2018, correct?
Yes.
After that notice that was signed where she received the green card, was there ever a make safe notice applied for this property?
No.
How do you know that?
I know that because there are several notes in the system by Inspector Stallworth, who was the area inspector over this property. On his inspection record following the inspection that took place of the property, the second inspection, his notes in the system are owner has had property short of no immediate danger of a collapsing, but still in deteriorated state. Owner must secure make safe permit and have repairs completed, which she has been instructed. The second notation on an inspection that occurred, this would be inspection number 3, is nothing done to the property to remove violation. With nothing done to remove the violation, the property was, and still no make safe permit, the property was placed out to bid in September of 2018.
So that second note that you just read, what was the date of that?
I don't have that specific note because the system automatically changes the dates when the property is complied.
But what you can testify to is that there was a notation demarked on a particular date that you can't ascertain, and then another note was entered in, and that's when it was put out to bid.
Being that the photographs that are in the docket or in the case file match the inspections prior to the property being placed out to demolition, they would match the dates that are stamped on the photographs.
Okay, and you can testify that based off the business practice of your office, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. I think Board Member Weiss, did you have any additional questions?
No, thank you. You actually answered my question.
Mr. Rulo, do you have any other witnesses for this matter?
I do not.
Okay. Are we
Does
ready?
the board want to step aside?
Yes.
Do you have
Oh, no,
any-
no, hold on, Mr. Rule. I think closing, I think that's what you were about to say. Okay.
And I will be brief, and I know attorneys lie every time they say that, but I swear I will actually try to be brief.
That's
Go for it.
fine. Go ahead.
Board members, candidly, I think that this is a rather straightforward case in a way. It's been admitted that there was notice from the day that this was cited. The appellant has admitted that they even signed the green card when they were at the property. At this time, I think that Supervisor Rybakowski has provided credible testimony that over the preceding 5 months, no make safe permit was applied for, no appeal was applied for, no written document of any type was obtained showing that the property was no longer in an imminently dangerous status and that compliance did not need to be obtained or a make safe permit did not need to be obtained. Excuse me. And the department went back out as a standard procedure in August, found that those violations still existed. And then they proceeded to, in accordance with Philadelphia code, bid this out for demolition and went with the lowest bid from that demolition and completed that. And in this instance, the city's taxpayers bear the burden of that cost. And in our opinion, the entire bill inclusive of interest and penalties should be upheld. Excuse me.
Okay.
Ms. Barksdale, did you have any closing remarks?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Paula. Yeah, I would just say that I relied on Mr. Eugene Stallworth, a city employee for over 20 years or more at that time, who I've had several conversations with, who explained to me what I needed to do to make that property safe. And I did everything that he instructed me to do or recommended me to do, even so much as use the contractor that he referred me to use. I asked him simple, is there anything I need to do, go down to the city to do? He said, no, your contractor does. Go get the make safe or do the paperwork. I said, there's nothing I need to do now except try to figure out, get money so that I can get the property up and renovations and all of that. And he said, yeah, he said it was not my job to go to do that. It was the contractors that I had paid thousands of dollars to make the permit safe and to make the property safe, and that there was nothing I needed to do. I specifically asked if I needed to go down to the municipal building to fill out any forms now that the work has been done. And the answer was no, there was nothing I needed to do, that my contractor would have done it. Reminding you, it was a contractor recommended and referred by Mr. Eugene
We understand that.
Okay, thank you. I think we're ready to go back, Nancy.
I think so. So the board's going to step aside and see if we can
Okay.
reach a decision.
Okay, so can I leave now or?
No, you should stay there. We step aside into a room for discussion and we'll come back with you. So just stay put and we'll be back to you in a couple of minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Woo. I was about to close this meeting out for everybody. Oh, yeah. Okay. Close all rooms and close meetings. Buttons are too close.
I think we're all back.
Yep, Nancy, we're all back.
Okay, the board has discussed the matter and has reached a decision, and it's our decision to deny the petition. You'll get a letter from us that spells out our decision. Both sides do have the right to appeal to the Court of Common Pleas within 30 days of the date of that letter. But I'm going to assume for the moment that neither side is going to choose to appeal. And if that proves to be the case, then arrangements for payment need to be made shortly thereafter. And those arrangements should be made with the city, combination of the law department and the Department of Licenses and Inspections.
Paula Weiss, I concur.
Just making a note that we're moving all cities exhibits into evidence, and Dominique Ward, I concur.
Thank you,
George
Dominic.
Matthews,
for
I
that.
concur.
And Nancy Cameradiner, I concur. I think we've covered everything at this point. And we thank you for joining us today, and you'll get that letter from us within approximately 2 weeks. Is there a question from the city?
I was just going to note, in terms of the exhibits that have been moved into the record, the city did strike Exhibit D, and I will resubmit that with the removal of Exhibit D.
D or
Thank
B?
you.
D is in dog, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Rulo.
Okay, thank you.
Have a seat right here. Yeah, right in here. And keep your voice nice and loud, okay? All right, thank you. No, thank you. I know, for waiting 2 hours. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. The last item on our agenda is item number 4, last 4 digits of the docket, 6749. Property address is 6033 Vine Street. Please identify yourself for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Tina, Tina Bellon, B as in boy, ELLON.
Thank you. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth with everything that comes before the board?
Yes, I do.
Okay, fine, thank you. Who has this matter for the city? Does someone from the city have this matter?
I believe it's Michelle Reinhardt. I'll be the one reading the numbers, but
Okay, well, if you
Mel,
could,
you're on mute.
We actually need Michelle here
Yeah.
first,
yeah,
before we can get started. Could somebody ping her, please?
sure.
I apologize. I am having technical difficulties. Can you give me just a minute?
sure,
Thank you.
We can hear you.
yes. If we must, we can continue without the image.
Well, can we get the numbers on the record while we're waiting?
Sure. So this is for 6033 Vine Street. Bill date that I have is December 16th of 2020. Bill number is 718082. Principal amount is $3,054.80. Administrative cost is $641.51. I don't have any interest at this time. So that totals out to $3,696.31.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any luck with Ms. Reinhardt?
I, sorry, just 1 second. I am, coordinating with Mr. Rulo. We are trying to get this up and running.
Okay, we'll give you a couple minutes there.
We can hear you though, Ms. Reinhardt, so you could maybe proceed.
It-
Well, it would be the petitioner to tell us why she's here today anyway. I just wanted to make sure that the city representative heard her testimony. So that's what we're
Yeah.
trying to.
Yeah, she needs to be heard by the city's representative and not be waiting for that person to get online.
I sincerely apologize, board members. I thought that the chairperson had called the meeting as well.
Mr. Rulo, is this your matter?
It is number 4.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
Oh,
it is.
okay.
That's why,
okay,
that is
we
why-
thought that
Okay.
it was Michelle
right ahead.
Reinhardt.
that is why I am apologizing.
Okay, we didn't clearly understand that. We've had the numbers read into the record. And we need to know if there's anything else that you need to or want to add before we turn to the petitioner.
Second, not at this time.
Okay.
Okay, then if we can turn back to the petitioner, Ms. Bellon, if you
Yes.
could tell us why you're here and what it is you're looking for from this board.
I'm here because they came out, they sent a citation.
Excuse me one moment. If you could come a little closer to the computer, that's where the microphone is, and we'll hear you a little bit more clearly if you're
This
closer.
is the microphone right here? That one? Okay.
It's actually, hold on, Nancy. It's actually that box on the table. Yes, just leave it right there. It's gonna pick up your voice.
Yeah.
So good afternoon.
You just needed to be a little closer to that mic in order to have the best clarity.
Okay. Good afternoon. So during COVID, they came out and they cleaned up the yard of a building that I own. They said that they sent out notification for me to, to comply. I didn't receive the mail. It's supposed to have been forwarded into my mailbox because I was staying with my then 94-year-old dad and I was taking care of him. So I didn't receive the notification telling me to come, that I had to clean the yard up. In times before, when they sent stuff, I received it and I would comply and I would clean the yard up like I was supposed to, but it was during COVID. Nobody really was coming out like that. So I didn't expect them to come out and charge me $3,600 and to clean the yard. But had I received the notification, I would have complied and cleaned it. It's like right now, the yard is the yard is completely clean. The gate is up and everything is up. I had cleaned the yard numerous times, but I cannot help it that the neighbors want to be trifling and continue throwing their trash over there or dumping back there. So I have complied at least 9 times to cleaning up the yard, but no, I was not checking on the property during COVID because nobody really was coming outside. So this is when all this took place and they claimed that they came out and cleaned the yard during COVID.
Since you weren't right at your property, did you check on it regularly to see what the
I had
condition was?
I had a guy checking on it that lived in the neighborhood that was checking on the property, going through the property, and they basically cleaned the yard out of the property. And he was like cleaning in front of the building, and I had a gate, and the people who was dumping in there, they took my gate down, and they basically was putting what I was told from somebody's camera, they was took a truck back there and was dumping back there with the truck.
Do you have any evidence or any pictures of what they did or with the truck there or anything at all like that that would
No,
help to
no, I don't.
support your statement?
The guy next door told me, the guy that owned the property next door told me from his camera that that's what happened. But I have come the yard, they cleaned the yard and then they dumped in the yard again. And now I put a gate, I put a wooden gate up on the yard with a wooden padlock that's 6 feet tall. So now they're not dumping in the yard anymore because there's no way they can do it because it's a 6-foot gate that's wood now and it has a padlock on it and the whole yard is concreted and cleaned out completely.
Ms. Bellin, what kind of property is this?
It's a rental property.
Is it a house? Is it a duplex?
It's a duplex.
It's a duplex. And so is it a twin, not a row home?
It's a row home. It's a bunch of
Row.
houses together, a row.
Okay, and so how big is your yard approximately? With the side yard or the backyard?
It's the backyard. It's a big yard. It's like a regular sized yard that would be in back of a house. I can show you a picture of the yard. It's already clean, the picture I had.
Okay, but we can't see that at the moment. And there's access.
To an alleyway. So it's like a big alleyway that you can the neighbors was talking about putting a pole up so the cars couldn't go back there anymore. But they were going back there with a car and basically dumping in the lot. The people that bought the house, on the other side, they cleaned theirs up too multiple times, but they just keep doing it. But now since I put the 6-foot wooden gate up there, they haven't been doing it because it's impossible to do it now with the way. Basically, the people next door re-renovated their house and they threw their toilet, their tub, everything on my side.
The people who were dumping, were they neighbors or were they other people coming in?
Just people somebody do a job somewhere around there, they just know that that's a place that they can dump stuff in. Like just that everybody knows that they can dump stuff back there. It was like mattresses back there, so much stuff. And of course, to me fixing the building up, they broke in and took the appliances. They had mattresses stacked up and went over like the old gate. So this is like, it's a dumping area. It's a known dumping space. People in the neighborhood has put together and paid for like the people around there to come clean up back there because they just keep doing it. So it's not the people in the neighborhood. It was the people next door when he fixed that building up because he threw a tub, a toilet, a sink all in there. But the people in the neighborhood is want to stop them because it's bringing wrecks because they keep dumping all that stuff back there.
Any other questions from board members for the petitioner? Let's turn to the city.
Good afternoon. Just a few questions for you. How long have you owned this property?
I've owned the property ever since 2010.
Have you occupied the property at all?
I'm in the process, the property is fixed up now. I'm going through in the process of getting like tenants in the building. It's completely fixed up. So I'm going in the process, but I have never gotten any tenants in there where I made any rent off the property at all. The property was sitting there first.
Okay, so since 2010, it's been vacant.
Yes,
Okay. Have you maintained a vacant property license during any of that time?
I had it off and on. I had one, but I had to get a new one because they're mandatorily making you get it. So I know I owe them money to get a new one.
During that time, how many times a year would you estimate that you visited the property?
Well, a lot, because my friend lived down the street. So a lot, like I visit the property a lot.
Can you provide any sort of an estimate?
Well, I rented the property more frequently during COVID. I didn't visit as much as I do now. Like I said, I was caring for my dad that was 94. So I didn't visit the property as much as I usually would, but I would send my guy by there to clean up the front and to check the doors and all that, to make sure the property was secure and nobody was breaking in the property because somebody broke in the property a couple times. So I would like let him go check on it all the time.
Miss Bellin, if you do me a favor, my name is Melissa. I'm from New York and I talk fast, but you're giving me a run for my
I talk fast when I'm nervous. I'm sorry, I talk fast when I'm nervous. I'm sorry. Sorry.
And I know you're nervous, but what I'm telling you is just to calm down.
Okay.
Slow down.
Right, I'm sorry.
Sorry, y'all. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going fast. So just calm down, okay? Slow down.
Thank you, Melissa.
So I would say that he checked on the property at least once a week. And I would say in the total of time of the 10 years me owning the property, I have cleaned the property out at least like 15 times.
Okay, 1 second. And what is the address of 3039 North 8th Street?
That's my address, but I forwarded my mail to my PO box. That's what should be on everything now is the PO box. When I get mail from anything that's concerning the building, it comes to the PO box.
But you still reside at 3039 North 8th Street?
Yes.
And you have resided at that address for the entire time you've owned this property?
Yes, until I didn't stay there during COVID. I stayed there none because like I said, I resided with my father and was taking care of him. Me and my daughter would stay with him and then we would stay with her grandmother, which is 2 different addresses. We never stayed there, like during COVID, we never stayed there. We all stayed like one place, at even my dad's house and my mom's house as a family during COVID.
I appreciate that. And I remember those times as well. So I understand that aspect. 1 second.
And like I said, had I received the notice, even if it was during COVID, if I would have complied. I have complied before and cleaned the building. I would have sent him down there. He would have paid some people to clean up, bag it up like I usually do when they dump. So it's just that I didn't know.
Okay, we understand. We understand.
That does it for my questions. I would, unless there are other questions on the board, I'd ask call Ms. Fonseca, excuse me.
Is
Yes,
the board? I'm sorry, go ahead. Did you say something?
I don't have
more?
any questions. I was saying proceed forward with asking questions to Ms. Fonseca.
Thank
Yeah, I have one question to the city. Do you have a breakdown of the expenses? What is it for 3,696? Any breakdown of how much is the labor? How much is the transportation of things of that nature?
Yes, I do. I was intending to go through that with Ms. Fonseca as part of her testimony. Or are you asking for me to display that now?
Please.
No.
Give me 1 second, please. Pardon, just 1 second here. Ah. I'm sorry, this document is taking forever to load. Can you see the document on the screen now?
No.
We can see your face.
That's not helpful in this instance.
No, it's not,
unfortunately.
it's not helpful in this regard. It's opening now.
You should see
Thank you.
Exhibit E displayed on the screen.
Yes.
Okay. And again, that's just for the court reporter, that's Exhibit E is an elephant. And I'm scrolling through, this is the abatement work invoice that has, I don't know if you want Ms. Fonseca to, I can ask Ms. Fonseca to put these into the record, or if you had specific questions about these documents that you wanted to ask her first.
Could you zoom in a little bit, Mr. Rulo?
I can try. I
Okay.
know that I'm not the best with
Good
this.
enough.
That's good.
What is the administrative charge and how's that calculated?
That's calculated consistent. That's a legal question, so I can testify to that. That administrative charge is stems from the Philadelphia Code. And it is just a charge that we're allowed to assess. And if you give me 1 second, I can pull up that code section. Pardon, just 1 second. Excuse me, this is taking forever to load. I apologize again.
Can I check my phone? Because I had to pick my daughter up from school and I had to make other arrangements because I didn't think I was gonna be here this long.
I'm sorry we've taken so long.
I know.
People ahead of you were very long-winded.
No, she's going on her prom and we have an appointment in Jersey at 6 o'clock for her.
I will endeavor to be quick. This section is not pulling up on my computer right now, but that is section A-503.2 of the code that authorizes the city to charge an administrative, assess an administrative charge as part of abatement costs.
Does that section indicate what percentage or how that charge is calculated?
It just states that they were allowed to charge an administrative cost. I would default to Ms. Fonseca in terms of the department's current.
I was wondering whether it was optional or if there were rules in terms of how it was established.
Excuse me, I have part of the language here. Authorized, so this is section A-503.2 of the Philadelphia Code. Which authorizes the Department of License and Inspection to itself or by contract correct the violations and charge the costs, including administrative costs thereof, to the violator.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want me to bring the exhibit that we were just looking at back up on the screen?
Yeah, Mr. Rulo, I think if you can just go through the invoice and explain briefly what the city, or have Ms. Fonseca explain just briefly what the city activity was at the property, that would probably be very helpful.
Absolutely. And I know again that attorneys lie about this. I will endeavor to be brief. Ms. Fonseca, can you see what's displayed on the screen here? It's titled abatement work invoice.
Yes, I can.
And just again, for the record, this was Exhibit E as an elephant. What is this document?
This document is an abatement work invoice, which is our abatement unit and crew, and which is calculated as of, I guess, the labor and materials and equipment that's actually used on the day of the abatement.
Okay, and this is dated December 28th of 2020, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Moving down to the next page, excuse me, second. Excuse me, I need to remove this from the screen for 1 second. Okay, and this is the second page of that exhibit, just for the purposes of the record. What is this document?
This document is pretty much the abatement worksheet and pretty much just checks off from our abatement unit the amount of their crew that was there the day of the cleanup and what was used.
Okay, and what does it describe here on this right? I don't know if you can read this.
This describes exactly what was cleaned up, which states that it was the front and there was no access to the backyard.
And this walks through the hours that they spent at the site, correct?
That is correct.
And then over here,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
we see the individuals that are listed that were on site as part of this cleanup.
Yes, these are the employees of the abatement crew.
And it lists that there were 4 abatement workers, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and it lists that there were 2 truck drivers,
Yes,
and we had 2 trucks on site, correct?
yes, that's correct.
I don't know if the boards have question about this document at this time.
I do, Mr. Rolo. There's nothing on there, let me see, 4 abatement workers, 2 drivers, but there's nothing on there to say how much they actually hauled away, right? Am I not?
No, I had intended to walk through with Ms. Fonseca some of the images that we have, which I think will indicate that. So with the board's permission, I'd like to display those.
You're preparing to show us something else, is that correct?
Yes, again, and I apologize for the delay here.
I just wanted to verify, because otherwise we were sitting there and maybe we were supposed to be talking.
Ms. Fonseca, can you see what's been displayed on the screen as Exhibit C as in Charlie?
Yes, I can.
Moving down, and I have to unfortunately rotate this. Okay, and what is the date of this photograph?
This photograph is dated, I'm sorry, September 28th of 2020.
Okay, and moving down, is this the property in question?
Yes, this is the front of the property.
Okay, and there was abatement work performed on both the front and back of the property, correct?
Yes,
And you've reviewed the photos for this property, correct?
I did, yes.
But can I
And-
stop you? I'm sorry, Mr. Rolo. Just quickly, I thought that the invoice or the work order said front only.
There was a notation that they couldn't access the back.
At that date, yes. On that, if we can go back to that worksheet, that'll be,
Are there more, is there more than one date?
There is, 1 second, please. And again, this is City Exhibit E. Moving down, so I apologize, board member, we reviewed the first page here. Ms. Fonseca, is this the second page of the document?
yes. it
It's the
is.
second page.
Yes.
Says
Okay.
Yep.
And if we move here, what is the date of this document?
This is September 28th of 2020.
So it took all them trucks to do the front. Cause y'all
it-
got 5 more trucks right here and.
Objection. Witness will have a chance to cross-examine Ms. Fonseca. Appellant, excuse me. Ms. Fonseca, moving to this portion in the center here, I'm going to zoom in. What does this say here in the middle of the document?
This says clean front and back exterior, used canes or cars.
Canes.
Yeah, sorry, it's just chicken scratch, it looks like to me.
City's records sometimes are the city's records. I should probably strike that. Moving on to this next document, what is the date of this document?
This document is dated September 29th of 2020.
And moving again towards the center of this document, I'm going to zoom in. What does it describe here?
This says clean back, yard front, yard. Here he used
Look like it's a cranes.
cranes, yeah, I don't
I think it's Canes.
know.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, so 9/20 and 9/29, are those the 2
9/29.
dates?
Yes,
Okay.
Returning
What was
to
the date on the first one we looked at that had the notation that they couldn't access the backyard?
this was on March 10th of 2020.
Okay,
This was before, yeah,
Okay.
they do Initially, what happens is that the abatement crew does try to go out there to the location at least once or twice
Okay.
before, just so that they know what they're gonna clean up.
Right. I couldn't remember what the date was and I wanted to get the comparison on it. Thank you.
No worries.
I'm just returning to the photographs. Give me 1 second. And we reviewed this photo a few minutes ago, correct?
Yes, this is the photo of the exterior front of the property on September 28th of 2020.
And then moving down, excuse me. I know that this image isn't the best. What does this image show?
This shows the fence, so it looks like it could be the back of the property. I'm sorry, because the image is in black and white.
Property.
Okay. And then this is another image at the front of the property, correct?
Yes,
And as part of the cleanup here, the city removed both debris and weeds, correct?
yes,
Moving down to the next photo, is this the rear of the property again?
yes,
Okay, and is this showing an open gate to the property?
yes,
And this is part of the debris that the city removed?
that's correct, yes.
And then moving down here, we have a larger image of the rear of the property, correct?
Yep,
And this is again showing the extent of the debris at the rear that the city removed, correct?
yes,
Moving down. Second, I'm going to move to what is a city exhibit D. I did not put this exhibit packet together, so excuse me that things are upside down. Again, this is what has been preliminarily marked as city exhibit D as in dog, and I'm going to move down to the next photo here, excuse me. And what is the date here?
this is September 29th of 2020, and these are the after photographs of the abatement.
And this is the after photo of the rear of the property, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Moving down here, and we have another angle at the rear of the property.
Yep.
And this is showing that the debris in the other images had been removed.
Yes,
Moving down, and then we again have another image at the rear.
yes,
And then this is an image at the front of the
of
property.
the
correct?
exterior front, yep,
And that's dated September 29th of 2020.
of 2020, that is correct.
And it's showing that the weeds and debris that were shown in the other photo have been removed.
Yep, yes.
Okay. That does it for my questions for Ms. Fonseca.
All right. Ms. Fallon, do you have any questions for the city's witness?
No, I don't.
Okay, do those photos look familiar? Is that your property,
Yes, it is.
front and back?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Nancy, if there's nothing else.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if the petitioner had anything else to add, because otherwise we're about to step back to consider our decision. Did you have anything else to add that we hadn't already heard?
Me? You talking to me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
I'm sorry. I said petitioner and I guess that
Okay.
didn't register for you.
I'm sorry.
I apologize.
And
Did you have anything to add that we hadn't already heard?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, we're going to step aside. You stay
Wait,
where
Mr.
you
Rulo,
are.
could you,
and
Mr.
we'll,
Wait,
uh,
Nancy.
Go out
Mr.
electronically and have an opportunity to meet to discuss our decision.
Nancy,
Rulo, did you have a closing?
Yes, just 20 seconds.
Oh, I'm sorry.
In this instance, I don't think that there was a dispute about notice, a dispute about the history of this property having debris accumulate. I completely understand the petitioner's circumstances and sympathetic to that. In this instance, the city incurred costs when it went out to clean up the property. I think it's shown that there was a substantial amount of debris, and ultimately it's the taxpayers that bore the burden of this, and under the code, we're entitled to recover those costs.
And you said that y'all paid $3,600 to have that done. I paid $4,500 and it's down to the concrete, had it concreted in a whole gator, entire gator.
Got it, Ms. Fallon. We got it. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, thank you. We're going to step aside and see if we can reach a decision.
Nancy, everyone is back.
Okay, thank you. The board's reached a decision. It's our decision to abate the administrative charge and reduce the principal by 50%. You'll get a letter from us that spells out our decision. This will be within about 2 weeks that you'll get the letter. Both sides do have the right to appeal to the Court of Common Pleas within 30 days of the date of our letter. But I'm going to assume for the moment that neither side is going to choose to appeal. And then shortly after that 30-day period, or even during that 30-day period, you should contact the city through law and also L&I to work out payment arrangements on the balance that would still be due in OA.
Thank you. That's all I was hoping for, because I understand that, you know, the city of Philadelphia did the work, but I can deal with it. Okay.
Very good. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Have a good
much.
evening,
Thank you
okay?
for coming in and for your patience waiting for
Thank
us.
you. I'm sorry, I have to go because my daughter
We
has a daughter.
understand that.
Thank
We
you.
understand that.
Dominic Board concurs.
Paula concurs.
George Matthew concurs.
And Nancy Kammerdinger concurs. And this being the last item on our agenda, unless there's something that anyone needs to add, and I don't see anyone raising their hands on that, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you all for your.
What's up, Mr. Rulo?
Mr.
I was
Rulo,
just gonna ask-
raising your hand?
Miss Andre, I did not have an email address for Miss Bellin, and so that we can coordinate for exactly what the chairperson raised. If you have an email address for her, could you please send it to me?
If I have one, yes, I will definitely send it to you.
Okay. Yeah. Melissa's the
Bye,
guardian of
everybody.
all of those pieces of information.
All right, thanks,
You
everyone.
have it,
Okay,
Melissa?
bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.